Hello students, I am Rajesh Kumar Singh from Divine Public School, Monapur, Gorakhpur. Let's proceed on the next chapter of the Snapshots Mother's Day by J.B. Priestley. Let's see what is in this chapter. Before starting off the chapter, I would like to introduce you what is in this play. As the play Mother's Day is written by J.B. Priestley based on common hazards of family life. As a family is consists of many members in which mother, father, children are its ingredients, its components. Everyone's role is important, but mothers are the foundations of the family. But it is less realized, less felt, and less regarded often in the society. The well versed, expert dramatist J.B. Priestley throws light on the importance of mother through this play Mother's Day and wants to draw the attention of the people as well as the young generations to give proper respect to their mothers and for which the mothers deserve. There is no doubt mothers play very important role, work hard for their kids, for their husbands, yet they are less valued. The play Mother's Day is, as I have told you, written by J.B. Priestley based on common problem of the family life. The plot of the play shows that the work performed by mothers or wives is often counted as nothing. Mother, an embodiment of love and affection for the children, and an embodiment of complete dedication for husband, is often ignored by her own family members. It shows how the family members who work 8 hours a day look down upon her and on her dignity as a wife. Although she works for the whole day and all week without taking rest for a single day. After all, she works for them. Mother or a wife of the family work for them and they take her. They means that is other family members granted for their daily service, even little work. They don't want to perform their own small little work. They want that every kind of work, whether big or small, should be performed by mother. Why? Because they are her children. They make her feel obliged and they do not even appreciate her work or speak a word of thanks to mother. It moves around. That is what means it. That is the play moves around Mrs. Fitzgerald, a friend of Mrs. Pearson, who is a fortune teller, helps her earn the place and respect she deserves as the woman of the house. Students, let's see summary of the lesson. What is in the play starts with two friends having a bitter yet truthful conversation at Mrs. Pearson's house. The two friends, one is Mrs. Pearson and next is Mrs. Fitzgerald. Mrs. Fitzgerald is telling Mrs. Pearson's fortune and advises her on it. Mrs. Pearson talks her about telling how her family members don't value her and don't appreciate the work whatever she does for them. This is her problem. She is available for them 24 hours a day. She works hard, always busy, doing work related to household all the time, but her work is not regarded by her family members, including her children, boys and son, and her husband, etc. And it causes a kind of humiliation, worried, worry in the mind of Mrs. Pearson, and she is talking over this topic with Mrs. Fitzgerald. As Mrs. Pearson is available for them 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. All they do is, all they, that is, the other member of the family, do is come in the house, throw orders around at her, and leave the house without even saying thank you. Means they show themselves very busy, working in the offices, working at their site 8 hours after coming back from the working place. They come in the house, stay for a little time. During that time, they give different orders to mother, who is a housewife, for her husband, and a working servant for their children, having no emotions for her. This is a reason that Mrs. Pearson looks worried. She says her problem to Mrs. Fitzgerald. Mrs. Fitzgerald tells her to take her stand as the woman of the house. But Mrs. Pearson, being the sweet and innocent lady, doesn't want to bring her family any sort of discomfort. She continues to handle their tantrums because she doesn't know where to begin when it comes the matter of discipline, or when it comes how to discipline them. Mrs. Fitzgerald, perhaps Mrs. Fitzgerald, I'm sorry, Mrs. Fitzgerald, her best friend as well as neighbor, proposes a plan to change their bodies or personality so that Mrs. Fitzgerald takes her personality without any suspicion to her family members. Mrs. Pearson is hesitant at this proposal first, but Mrs. Fitzgerald convinces her for it. Mrs. Fitzgerald performs her magic that she had learned from the East and thus their personalities are changed. Now, Mrs. Fitzgerald is actually in Mrs. Pearson's personality. That is, she adopts the body of Mrs. Pearson and Mrs. Pearson adopts the body of Mrs. Fitzgerald. Now, new Mrs. Pearson tells Mrs. Fitzgerald to go to her house for the time being. At this moment in the play, Doris Pearson, Doris Pearson, daughter of Mrs. Pearson, enters the scene, asking for tea and ordering Mrs. Pearson to iron her yellow silk. She gets shocked at the sight of her mother smoking, and from there the argument begins, where Mrs. Pearson insults Charlie Spence, the young man, the youth she is about to go out with. Doris leaves crying and sorrel as Doris leaves crying as Mrs. Pearson had insulted her own boyfriend, and then Sorrel, her brother, enters asking for tea and something to eat. He also becomes amazed at having come home to see that there is nothing to eat and no tea to drink. Upon asking if anything is wrong, Mrs. Pearson tells him that she had never felt better. Cyril gets annoyed and Doris joins him, where they are told that Mrs. Pearson might even take the weekend off. Mrs. Pearson might take the weekend off. Next, George Pearson, the husband of Mrs. Pearson, enters the scene. He is shocked to see his wife day drinking. He announces that he has some special match at the club and that he won't be requiring any tea this afternoon. On being told there is no tea, he gets annoyed again. Mrs. Pearson mocks him for getting annoyed at not getting something he didn't actually want. She laughs at him, mocks that you are becoming annoyed at not getting something which he didn't actually want. She tells him about the names they call him at the club. She further taunts him that this would not have happened if he had stayed at home once in a while. After a while, Mrs. Fitzgerald enters. She interferes in their family matter. George gets annoyed when Mrs. Fitzgerald, actually Mrs. Pearson, loses her cool temperament and asks the family members to excuse the two friends for a moment. She promises them that she knows how to make the situation better. Mrs. Fitzgerald asks Mrs. Pearson to switch their bodies, and while Mrs. Fitzgerald resists at first, but later she agrees to do it. They repeat the process they did at the first time previously. Mrs. Fitzgerald now explains Mrs. Pearson how important it is for her to be a bit dominating once for a while to establish her control and respect in the family, for which she deserves. The family enters and Mrs. Pearson suggests that they play Rumi, a kind of card game, and the kids make supper. Everyone instantly, in no time, agrees to do their work, and they are a bit relieved also. Mrs. Fitzgerald exits and the play ends. Students, now let's proceed on the chapter. Let's have a studying. As I have told you earlier that the play is humorous, a kind of portrait of the status of the mother in a family. Let's read on to see how Mrs. Pearson's family reacts when she tries to stand up for her own rights. Characters are Mrs. Annie Pearson, George Pearson, the husband, Doris Pearson, the daughter, Sarel Pearson, the boy or the son, and Mrs. Fitzgerald, the neighbor, the friend of Mrs. Pearson. Now let's see scene. It's reading. The living room of the Pearsons family. Afternoon. It is a comfortably furnished, much lived in room in a small suburban semi-detached villa. If necessary, only one door need be used, but it is better with two. One up left leading to the front door and the stairs and the other in the right wall leading to the kitchen and the back door. There can be a muslin covered window in the left wall and possibly one in the right wall too. The fireplace is assumed to be in the fourth wall. There is a settee up right, an armchair down left, and one down right. A small table with two chairs either side of it stands at the center. When the curtain rises, it is an afternoon in early autumns and the stage can be well lit. Mrs. Pearson at right and Mrs. Fitzgerald at left are sitting opposite each other at the small table on which are two teacups and saucers and the cards with which Mrs. Fitzgerald has been telling Mrs. Pearson's fortune. Mrs. Pearson is a pleasant but worried looking woman in her 40s. Mrs. Fitzgerald is older, heavier, and strong and sinister personality. She is smoking. It is very important that these two should have sharply contrasting voices. Mrs. Pearson is speaking in light, flurried, and short of tone with a touch of suburban cockney perhaps, and Mrs. Fitzgerald with a deep voice, rather Irish perhaps. Students, see some words as cockney means the local language of London. Before starting the explanation of this scene, let's see some words which should be explained by me first. As furnished means well decorated. Suburban, especially outer limit of a big city or a town from where the town or city ends or from where the village or countryside starts. You can say outer limit are often at the skirt of the cities. Suburban, okay, is semi-detached means half attached, half separated. Villa means a house. Villa means a house. Muslin covered means covered with silk. Assumed to be, that is seemed to be. Settee. Settee means a long seat with a back and usually with arms for more than one person to sit on. That is sofa. Long sofa on which often three persons are expected to sit. That is settee. Students, I think the concept of settee would be clear to you. Sinister. Sinister means making you feel that something evil, wrong, or illegal is happening or will happen. Means a very unauspicious personality. A person whom we see, often seeing them, we get afraid. We get that those persons are the persons of necromancy, persons of doing necromancy or sorcerers. Such people are called the people of sinister personality. Okay, let's use a sinister figure lurking in the shadow. A sinister shadow lurking in the shadow, or a sinister looking mask. Okay, now let I explain the scene what I have read here. The scene takes place in the drawing cum living room of Mrs. Pearson's family. This is a suburban village in which the house of Mrs. Pearson's is situated. The villa is half detached from others. It is comfortable, well decorated, much lived room. If needed, only one door needs to be used, but it is better with two doors. One up left leading to the front doors and the stairs, and the other in the right wall leading to the kitchen and the back door. There can be window covered with muslin in the left wall and possibly one in the right wall too. The fireplace is seemed to be in the fourth wall. Students, you know fireplace, okay, where we get warm in the winter season. Okay, there is a long seat sofa at, at upright and an armchair down in the left and one down right. There is a small table with two chairs with either side of it stand at the center. This is the scene when curtains rises up. Now when the curtain rises, it is an afternoon in early autumn and the stage can be well lit. Mrs. Pearson is seen at right and Mrs. Fitzgerald at left and are sitting opposite each other at the small table. There are two teacups and saucers and the cords on it. With the help of cords, Mrs. Fitzgerald has been telling Mrs. Pearson's fortune. Mrs. Pearson is a woman of pleasant personality, but she looks worried in her 40s. Mrs. Fitzgerald is older, heavier, and strong and a lady of sinister personality. She is smoking. It is very important that these two should have sharply contrasting voice. Mrs. Pearson speaks in a light, flurried sort of tone with a touch of suburban local London tone, and Mrs. Fitzgerald speaks with a deep, heavy voice, rather in Irish tongue or in Irish tone.